Are you a fan of intermittent fasting for health, which I used to be? Think about it twice if you're suffering from chronic stress. Many swear by intermittent fasting as a health strategy, but what if I told you it might not be the best approach for you if you're grappling with chronic stress? I'll explain reasons why intermittent fasting might not work for chronic stress recovery and how it is actually creating more stress, leading to serious negative health consequences. When your mental health suffers, it can drive your anxiety, affect your sleep, and even your cognitive impairment, cause cognitive impairment. Recognizing chronic stress is very important. Most of us actually lack self-awareness, recognizing signs of chronic stress. We miss and ignore the signs that lead to the last stages of burnout and chronic stress, which is normal. On one hand, we are brainwashed by culture or our families or society, thinking that life is stressful, stress is everywhere, it's inevitable, which is fine. But we need to really differentiate between stress and chronic stress. Identifying chronic stress is the first step. If your stress seems relentless, it might be chronic. Chronic stress, essentially an uninterrupted stress loop between the brain and the body, keeping our nervous system on high alert. Are you having trouble relaxing? You are caught in negative thinking patterns. You're waking up anxious, you're emotional reacting to family. You're feeling consistently overwhelmed. If so, you are not alone. Acknowledging chronic stress is very important, and I learned it from personal experiences. Initially, when I was chronically stressed, what I did was a lot of exercising, dieting, and intermittent fasting. They were my go-to solutions. Well, they said you can sweat cortisol out, so I did. I ran, went to Pilates. However, soon I discovered that these activities were more distractions, first of all, from the underlying root cause of chronic stress that was driving my stress, and second, they caused a triple cortisol overload on my system. All these activities, gym, fasting, dieting, were elevating cortisol. They were very, very bad for my situation. Look, the fact is fasting increases cortisol. We often listen to those social media fads that force us to adopt health trends without critical thinking. Fasting in particular elevates cortisol level, which is counterproductive when we're dealing with chronic stress. While some may experience a boost in energy and clarity initially, for those already chronically stressed, fasting can be very unsafe, potentially causing negative side effects such as hair loss, anxiety, and increased stress. The holy trinity of chronic stress management and recovery, apart from therapy, is the triad of movement, nutrition, and sleep. But you can't go extreme with any of this. I explained in previous video what kind of movement a chronically stressed person requires for recovery. It needs to be low intensity, possibly long duration. To truly recover from stress, we need to focus holistically on low intensity movement, regular healthy meals, and sufficient sleep. Intermittent fasting unfortunately can disrupt your sleep, leading to a restless night and a decline in REM sleep, essential for memory, mood, and learning capacity. So if you're a fan of intermittent fasting while suffering chronic stress, do not be surprised that your memory and ability to focus, retain information is declining and your sleep is becoming wonky. Intermittent fasting affects your mental health. This actually happened to me. It can inadvertently lead to unhealthy obsession with healthy eating, known as orthorexia. It's a fixation on quality of food that can make you talk about diets constantly. Your eating habits become very inflexible, and it even results in you canceling social outings because they don't align with dietary preferences. I had this going on for a while. I was so strict with my meal plans and the time I had to eat and what I had to eat. I remember I once went on a hike with a group of people. So we stopped after a long walk for a little picnic. Well, that didn't align with the time for my lunch, so I skipped it. And people looked at me as if I was a nutcase, but the penny didn't drop then. That's what I was doing. I was very inflexible with my eating and obsessing about healthy food. Now looking back, I was really inflexible, but I also developed a mental problem later, which led to me suffering from anorexia. Took me 7 years to recover, but that's another story. Intermittent fasting has negative cognitive consequences for you. Well, being fixated on food during intermittent fasting can lead to a decline in mental alertness and focus. This is a really interesting one, and that's where a lot of people are confused. At the initial phases of fasting, sense of clarity and concentration and focus is created. Why? It's not surprising. A brain that's not getting food is not going to think about creativity, being playful, or distracted. It focuses on what it needs, food, even when you are not. So this creates a sense of focus, but it's short-lived. In the long term, consequences include fogginess, slow thinking, difficulty concentrating, and fatigue due to inadequate calorie intake during fasting windows. When considering extreme stress relief strategies, please exercise critical thinking and consider if advice is right for you. Be mindful of pumping more cortisol into your already overloaded system by stress. Bottom line about intermittent fasting and its effects on chronic stress: avoid it like plague. Depriving yourself of food for extended periods increases cortisol levels, the body stress hormone. While intermittent fasting has its benefits for some people, it's crucial to consider its appropriateness for your situation, especially if you're dealing with chronic stress. So, in conclusion, intermittent fasting may not be the panacea for chronic stress recovery. Understanding the nuances of its impact on stress levels and considering an alternative approach that prioritizes holistic well-being, that might be the key to a healthier, more sustainable path towards chronic stress recovery for you.